discuss the 2024-25 budget. In your packet, I hope you got the, budget message, that was written up with some of the information that we have and we were planning to do for this budget year. We are going through the, presentation, our PowerPoint presentation. I think that just sort of summarized everything that's in the budget message and also the rates and things, and we're gonna go through it quickly. I'm not gonna read everything. If you have questions as we're going through this, PowerPoint presentation, we can discuss. And then too, I have the, department's head here this morning who would like to present to the council, some things that, council will have to direct me on, okay? All right, Scott, thank you. I put in your packet this weekend is the general fund revenue for this year is $2,636,799. And if you see, the fund balance is at $350,000. Property taxes are at $660,000. Franchise is $258,000. Local option sales tax, which is just $765,000, and which is 29% of our fund balance. Garbage collection is $300,000, and other is $303,799, which makes up the total amount of the general fund revenue for 24-25. Are there any questions? Okay, Scott, we can go to the next one. I also did it this way so that each one of you can see where it's grafted that our highest revenue will be the local option sales tax unless something changes. So it is a big part of our budget this year, as well as property taxes. And I would like to say at this point with property taxes, we are at 98% this year of having our property taxes. So I really appreciate what the ladies have done up front. If we have no questions on revenues, we'll go to expenses.
What falls under other, just a few things, I mean, what is it?
Okay, in your packet, so that you can help see. You have the recreation, cemetery, POW bill, we have a beer and wine. These are things that make up the other 303,000.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and if you want to, as I'm going around long, you can look at each department, because I put that in your packet just to see.
Thank you.
Okay, we are on, general fund expenses. Administration expense is $644,944. Police is $1,108,848. We get a POW bill, which is $68,000. Garbage is $416,907. Now, general fund is $310,000, and appropriations this year, which is a mistake, is really $98,100. And if you see the pie, you see that in general fund expenses, the highest expense is in your police department. And that is usually normal, but we will, if we need to, discuss that. Also, you can go to the next slide. I've also graphed this by the line so you can see which expense in the general fund is the highest. As you see, the police department, and then your administration, then your garbage, and then the general fund. And in your packet, it gives you line item for the general fund for each line item. Okay? I've graphed, if you go to the next one, please. I have graphed also a pie for the police department. And I know it's redundant, but I'd just like for you all to understand how everything is broken out. So if you have questions for a particular part of that pie, we can discuss. Okay, Scott, you go to the next one. So I've given it to you in two different formats. All right, we'll go to solid waste.
And if I may pick it up.
Yes.
On the, police department expenses, the EPM lease agreement, is that the agreement with Enterprise where we lease the car?
Yes, it is.
So, okay, thank you. Excuse me.
Mhm. All right, we're at garbage expense, which is your solid waste expense. All right, can we go back one, or did I leave it out? I might have put it in the wrong order, but that's the, okay, go ahead, Scott, I probably put it in the wrong order. All right, for your garbage expense, our collections are at $300,000 of revenue in the revenue. And if you see the expense for garbage, it's gonna be $416,907. Now, we are requesting a rate increase of $1.50 per month, which is gonna go from $15 a month to $16.50. We have put into the budget additional $200,000, as you recall, I think it was in the January meeting that we requested, money to buy a new trash truck. So part of, in this budget is the balance of that trash truck of $200,000. This is a one-time, expense to the garbage, but we have to help make up that amount.
We already bought the trash truck.
We have bought a part, the one that costs $106,000, we have bought the body. The one in June will be the chassis that goes with the body, and that's additional $200,000.
Is it the right body? I've done heard that the trash truck body ain't gonna work.
I would say that they would not sell us a body. The company's working together, so I can't see why they would sell us a body and not the right chassis.
I met with them last week, they came up here and they told us that they would let us know when the chassis was finished, we could come up and inspect it if we wanted to. What the question was, what kind of arm we wanted on the chassis, and one was a grab and one was a tip, and we actually got with Michael and Derek to see which they preferred, and they chose the grab arm. So they are constructing it as we asked.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Megan.
Uh-huh.
Are there any more questions on the, garbage revenue, or as well as the expense that we'll be expensing out? Okay, and I've also graphed that. If you see, the biggest expense this year for garbage will be the equipment outlay. All right, we can go to the next one. Human capital. I'm gonna ask that Chief, Terry, Megan, and, Chase come up, to do their presentation. As they're coming, as you have seen, we are, recommending at this point, 3% COLA increase, 2% merit increase. The state health plan is transitioning to Aetna, and we're not sure of that cost. It surely won't be more than what we're doing at this point, which is $724 per employee. The town takes care of that. The ledger law enforcement officer, that is required by the town to pay is increasing 1%, and this is for retirement, to 16.01%. 401K for law enforcement remains the same, 5%, which is the town's contributions. This is all town contributions. General employee is increasing 0.75% to 14.35%. The additional retirement contributions for general employee remains at 2%. We have a longevity pay remaining at 1%. But we would like to present to you another option, this morning, as we have to stay competitive, with our local government around here. Y'all come on up so we can,
Ladies first.
what we would like to present to the council is, as we know, our neighbor is giving their employees a $5,000 raise, all employees,
That's our neighbor over here.
a neighbor. So I have talked to the department heads, and I'll let each one of them speak. We're requesting that we eliminate the 2% merit and the 1% cost of, no, we wanna keep the 3% cost of living, the 1% longevity. We want to eliminate those two, and we want to be able to offer a $5,000 bonus given out quarterly with stipulations in place whether or not they would get the full bonus. So I will let Megan defend her maintenance department.
If I may, folks.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that this 1% to 2% merit, 1% longevity, 3% cost of living, all that's taxed, correct? Is the 5,000 taxed as well? Do they have to pay taxes on it?
It's taxed, but it's not, it's not, my understanding when I look at it, we do not have to pay retirement on it.
Okay, so that would be a favorable thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, go ahead.
So what we're looking at is, like Ms. Peggy said, dividing it into quarterly payouts, so it would not be a $5,000 lump sum, wouldn't be as hard of a hit, but do it every 3 months, and doing an evaluation at that time. So we have kind of a scale where we do yearly evaluations to see what the merit raise will be for each employee. So this would be kind of the same thing, give employees an incentive to work harder and, you know, my guys, I'll speak for my guys, you know, they're out in the wee hours of the night and doing stuff that a lot of people don't want to do or would not do, and just kind of a thank you for your hard work and the, like Ms. Peggy said, a bonus. It's hard to compete when your neighbors are giving $5,000 raises across the board, and this is just kind of a quarterly incentive to do a good job, and a thank you for doing so.
A maximum of 5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And I agree totally with that, you know, if we have an incentive throughout the year, that way we don't have turnover rate, especially in law enforcement. You can go to Wilkes County, you can go to surrounding counties, you can get a right smart more money to go. We do have some officers, several officers that live outside the county. I really think this would help with an incentive to sort of give them a reason to want to stay here. We do have a really, really good bunch of officers right now. They're working hard. Our breaking and entering are way down. I know our traffic enforcement's been up. Yes, I get complaints, chief gets complaints about people getting tickets, but our high crime is really lowered, and, you know, we need to do something to try to keep the officers that we have, and I really think quarterly giving them a bonus as an incentive to stay would really help them to make the decision to stay with the town of Sparta for maybe forever.
Chief, you have anything you'd like to say?
I think they did well with it. My 40th year in law enforcement was the 29th day of February this year. I've never seen what we're dealing with now. This is something very, very new for everybody. You've got big departments that are paying crazy money or salaries to officers with great incentives to child daycare or pet care, you know, $3,500. So I guess what I'm saying is we can't compete with big departments, but we have to compete here where we're at home. I'm not trying to outdo our neighbors or anything, but we're just trying to keep up. I think like Captain Wood said and Megan said, that we do have some good employees here. I really believe that. When I say that, not just the police department, this town has good employees. This is an option that we talked about, that we came up with, and like I said, it's a quarterly installments, and you will be evaluated each quarter, you know, every employee will, to make sure that their performance is good, and that they earn that money. And then at the end of this year, as we come down the road, we can evaluate that in the future, see where we head from there.
We did do a comparison. At this time, we are averaging, along with the county, $44,000 per employee, and that's what the county is doing. If they give the increase of $5,000, the raise, we will not even be competing. We will be around 45, they will be almost at 50,000. So, to help our employees and to keep retention and not have a lot of turnover, we thought this was the best way for us to go, is the bonus, because I don't know if we can sustain $5,000 per employee for the next years. We don't know what's gonna happen, but this is a one-year thing, and we can, like, Chief said, we can reevaluate, next year whether we are able to do it or not.
And one of the things I'll just add to that, we talk about grants, you hear me talk about grants, I spend a lot of time and effort with those. The police department has been awarded, I think about $170,000 so far this year with grants. I've got $50,000 worth of grants still out there to help offset equipment. Some's been, one of the grants, the COP grants, is for a position, is for salary and equipment. The other is equipment. So, if we can do our due diligence in grants to keep that equipment cost down, maybe we can find the money for these salaries, because the police budget is the largest, and the salaries is always gonna be your highest, with that. So, just let you know, we're doing our due diligence with grants and seeking every other remedy we can to offset and save some money in this times we're in.
Yes. Also, it's general fund will be able to absorb this. Water and sewer we may have to increase the rates. So I want you to be able to take everything in consideration as you are thinking about this. Do you all have any questions for us?
As the budget stands now with the 1% and the 2% in there, what does that do to an overall budget?
To the overall budget, if I take that out, I will have to do the numbers. We just wanted to come before we get all the numbers to let you know.
Yeah.
And to request it.
So to cover the water and sewer employees, that would mean to raise water and sewer rates more than we've already got in the budget.
That would be the only way to do that.
To cover those.
Yeah.
And how many employees we got in water and sewer?
8.
Because that includes your garbage folks and everybody.
No, garbage is in general fund.
Okay.
It stands alone.
Water and sewer is 8.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. That's got him too. It's got everybody. So we may have to increase the water rates a little bit more than what we have anticipated. But I'm getting ready to get into that. Does anybody else have questions for the department head?
I would like to see the difference in the overall.
Okay, I will. I'll do the numbers and then I'll send it out to you
Yeah.
all, in case we need to have another meeting to discuss.
Okay.
But I'll do it and send it out.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all.
All right, Scott, are there any questions for the general fund before I start with the water and sewer? Like I said, I've given you a line item budget for each line item. It's a comparison of 23, 24 to 24, 25. So if you have any questions, about a line item, just let me know. We're going into water and sewer if there's not any more questions. For the water and sewer, you'll see what the revenue is. The highest revenue for water and sewer is water at $1,071,500, and sewer revenue is at $600,000. And then you see the other, we have money that comes from the general fund. That money comes from the general fund, pays one of the loans, the streetscape loan that we have, and then the new singular wireless pays for the, what is that loan that we have over there?
Water pump, the Crestview pump.
Crestview Pump Station. That loan was a 20-year loan, and the streetscape loan is a 40-year loan,
Right.
okay? So that's the reason why they're there. This is the last year, we will get the new singular wireless refund. they have not renewed the contract, so we will have to prepare next year to cover that $32,000. Okay, if you go to water expenses, go to the next, not the next one, the next one over, we'll just go through the water expenses, yeah. If you see here in water and sewer expenses, the salaries for water is $354,655. The salaries and benefits for sewer is $123,695. We have a streetscape loan for $92,067. The water authority expense went from $350,000 this year to $500,000. The Crestview loan is $34,270. Utilities, $135,000. We have the leases that are at $72,100 for both departments. Other expenses totals $276,250,000. Other sewers expenses total $325,550. We have an AIA project for the water and sewer that we pay up front that is reimbursable at $160,775. That makes the total and the balanced budget again of $2,074,402. We are proposing for the water and sewer overview, the largest expense for the water is purchasing of the water from the Virginia Carolina Water Authority at a rate of $4.03. That's what we are increasing to from $3 and I believe 54 cents. I might be off there, but I know it's $3. The rate is going up to $4.03. We will be, it's increasing our amount that we pay, $500,000 from $350,000. As you can see, this is a 53% increase from the previous year. The town debt services payment for Crestview, again, is at the streetscape project is $126,337. The restriction amount required by USDA is $9,207. A recommendation of 15% increase for water and 5% for sewer is based upon the minimum usage of 2,000 gallons. And I put in your packet, if you can pull it up, the rate sheet for water, inside and out. And it gives you the total amount our citizens will pay each month. And I don't think that's on the PowerPoint.
But it's in there.
It's in your sheet, it's in your package. And it's under the water and sewer rates inside and water and sewer rates outside. Okay? Do I have any questions on this before I go further?
I know I should know this, but why do we run the payment for the streetscape through water and sewer?
USDA set up the way we should pay it, and that's the reason why it's going that way. It was supposed to be in the general fund, but the way they set up the loan and everything to go through the water and sewer, so we just transfer the money.
How was the inside limits break compared to the outside limits break?
It's over here, John, on page,
You can go to the next one, Scott.
it's back over here. In fact,
Go to the next one,
on,
that right there.
back over here, after you get through, flip back over there to, doesn't have a page number, but Town of Sparta customers, inside, outside, sewer, et cetera, flip over that passage page where it's got your line item. It's back here. David's got to do his job.
Okay, the water inside rates will be, water inside will be $21.26. Water sewer inside is going to $16.33. Garbage is at $16.50. So a customer who uses a minimum of 2,000 gallons will be paying $54.09. Right now, they pay $49.04,
Right.
and it will be going to $54.09. That's a $5 increase. $5.04 increase. That's just for 2,000 gallons.
And didn't you tell us at one point 50% of our customers are at that 2,000 or less? Basically, roughly, generally speaking, our customers, most 50% of our customers are at the 2,000
Oh,
or
yes,
less
yes.
usage.
Yeah.
So 50% of the folks are flat, even though they may not use 2,000, but 50% of our customers are at the 2,000 minimum rate or less, and that hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't changed. Outside water rates, if you can do a comparison, because we just have a few people who really use water outside. It's not as much as you would think, and I think I put that in your packet. The inside, remember, is $21.26. Outside water rates are $37.05 for 2,000.
And there's 394 customers are the majority, we've got outside commercials 4, so the 394 is residential,
Outside, yes, sir.
and then the 4 is in addition to that, making it 398.
Correct.
So there's, and then your sewer outside, of course, is residential as well.
Right. And if you look at your sewer, we don't have that many, houses that have no wells. They don't have no.
Right, so your sewer outside, you got 12, who were those folks?
Outside, I have to give it.
Is it not factories or?
We have factories, but
Well,
we
you
do
got-
have a few residents that have sewer.
Okay, it's like you got, okay,
Yeah, just a few.
right, okay.
I'd like to see the outside rate go up from part of, to cover part of what the inside rate covers.
Okay.
In other words, you got a 5% increase on the inside and a 7% increase on the outside. I'd like to see a 4%, maybe 3.5–4% increase on the inside and a 8 or 9% increase on the outside.
So instead of the 15%, you wanna go higher?
I think he's saying that he would like to see more of an additional cost put on the outside folks. So instead of is that what I'm
Yeah, that's
understanding?
what I'm saying.
And instead of a 5% increase on the inside customers, you said 4% or 4.5?
3.5–4%.
3.5 to 4 on the inside, and then make up the rest of what we need on the outside.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay, now, remember, this 15% increase is made the majority of your customers are inside. We need the 15% increase to help cover the increase in the $500,000, the 200 and 150,000 more that we're gonna have to pay to the water authority. So I'm not sure decreasing that, plus we're asking for the $5,000 bonus per employee. So decreasing that, cause I don't know where you're gonna get your other funds from.
he's saying we have to have increases to go, and John, not putting words in your mouth, but I've got a big mouth, but what he's asking is, if on the inside of town customers, instead of a 5% increase, we go for a 3.5 to 4, and then the remainder offset would be to increase the outside customers more to compensate for what you're taking off up here on
Do
the
you
5.
realize how much that's gonna be per customer outside? Because we
Well,
only have
that's-
184
Here's what I
customers.
think.
He's asking.
I think that the people who live outside of town get the police protection, they get the water and sewer protection, they get all those things, and they don't pay a dime for it. Nothing. The only way we can annex those people is they've gotta ask for it. And the only way to make them ask for it is to make the water and sewer, which is the one they do control,
Right,
higher and higher. So that's my thought.
okay, all right.
I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but that's the way I think about it.
Yeah, just speaking with, Councilmember Green, it's not uncommon for outside town rates to be 150 to 200% of what the in-town rates are, so I haven't done the exact calculating, but it looks like we do have some wiggle room that we could
I mean,
adjust the outside rates
when you're talking
a
about,
little bit higher to offset
Magnolia.
what was
Okay,
looking at for
there's
Right.
a little leeway there, but anybody outside of town, that- unless they wanna dig a well, would pay a lot more in water and sewer. And you gotta get it to the point where.
The
water and-
tipping point.
Yeah, you gotta get to a point where the water and sewer is as much as town taxes.
okay, okay,
And we're headed that way, we're just not there.
okay,
I'd
all
say
right.
the only problem you got, a lot of the people that's outside the town is on town water, but they got their own septic system. And if we go to annex them into the town, we would probably, somewhere down the line, we would probably have to put sewer to their residents. I assume. Of course, down 21, we're already in good shape down that way there.
What would be our situation? Would, if we annex them, would we have to provide sewer, yes or no?
Yes, and
That's a pretty good answer, pretty quick answer.
And as it was alluded to, the state changed the annexation laws several years ago.
Right.
That really the only process to annex is for someone to request it.
That is
There used to be
correct.
what was called city-initiated annexation, and that's a thing of the past.
Absolutely.
So we'd have to look at, somewhere down the road, we'd have to put in sewer
Yeah,
to these.
And the cost of that.
The cost of that.
but I think over time, it would pay for itself.
I think it would too. It's just going to have to go through some growing pains right there. I agree with John. I think that we could, we're not gonna be able to do the entire amount there, but the outside customers should pay a lot more, than the inside customers there to help kind of compensate what the cost is on the inside. And, I think Josh is gonna be our representative on the water authority there. I don't know why in the world it doubled. We're gonna have to look into that a little bit there, but hey,
Yeah.
that's quite an increase.
Has the water and sewer already voted on their budget?
They did last Wednesday, or Tuesday, whatever day it was.
And they
Andy
got-
can probably explain that better than anybody as far as the big jump, if I could ask him to. That was my first meeting, so I don't want to, I'm gonna put my mouth right where it don't need to. Thank you for being here.
You got all the time, you got all the time you want, Andy.
Well,
Take your
it's-
time.
Certainly, I'm not prepared, but I appreciate the opportunity to come and present and do anything here to help the day's events, but, just looking at the budget overall, we've operated in the red for so long down there. I mean, it's obviously been under budgeted in times past. So I think the opportunity to look at the budget this time was to take into account getting this thing back on track. Making sure that the operating costs were covered, that the processes that we're looking at changing, this thing's been in started in 2008, operated since 2010, so it's aging out. We're starting to see some problems and issues there with equipment that we're having to go back and rework and do some maintenance on, replacement parts for those aged out assets, filters being one of the main replacements that we're gonna do this year that cost $167,000 for just that item. Some of the other operations that we're having issues also, they're looking at changing, and voted into this budget and approved to make changes. Now, obviously, that number, looking at that 500,000 improves all that in this year. So, as you're looking at that budget, those increases kind of cover what we're gonna do for this year, for your consideration. So-
Did the cost of independence increase?
It did, and initially the budget was presented, and it was not at this rate, I think it was a 47 cent per town increase after the decision was made, because initially the budget did not include these filter replacements, did not, add to the improvements on the intake gallery, that the process down there needs. So when, the board, met the previous month, it was stated that they would like to go ahead and attack this, because obviously those costs are going to go up. So we never see a decrease in parts and pieces as far as cost goes. So the board elected that they wanted to go ahead and attack the problem and get ahead while the parts are available, for number one, because that was a big part of the issue, that right now they're available and it can have a 2-year lead time, which could put us in a potential risk.
On your intake gallery, could you elaborate on, I think, even I can understand filters, but on the intake gallery, what's that situation?
So-
Specifically?
Down there at the vault, we're having issues with some of the controls within the.
Explain, we've never heard any of this before.
Okay, all right.
We've never been told a thing about this, I have some knowledge, but pretend like we don't know
Sure.
anything about it except it has to do with water.
Absolutely.
So the intake gallery vault,
Okay, so looking at that system down there, we operate under a groundwater system basically through the intake galleries themselves, which is a kind of a filtration system into the intake that we draw from. Due to
out of the
the,
river, it's in the river.
no ma'am, not that.
Okay.
The intake galleries themselves. Let me kind of go back through the history on that. So when it was initially built, obviously we went in and put in the lines alongside the river that acts like a French drain, if you will. So water's drawn from that infiltration area that we were able to draw from, get our groundwater under direct influence of surface water that we were able to start out in 2012 when that earthquake hit. We lost that capacity because it opened up those vaults, the area where it fractured the rocks and took the capacity of water. So that's when the initiation for the ground surface water treatment plant was started. So we went to where we had to dam off the river, put it in that intake gallery, a straw out in the river, if you will, is what we put in with those filters. So we have a operating system down there that we can switch between groundwater and surface water. And it is an automatic process, pneumatic system that we have in place. Now, the problem with the area down there is environment. Those are buried underground. The air compressors that control that system, there's a little pump house. Obviously, the aesthetics of the development is a big part of the New River conservancies and things that we had to kind of make sure that it wasn't an unsightly eyesore. So that vault that's down there, the vault that has the air compressors that are placed, those have seen some environment and some wear. So we've asked for some upgrades there to improve that pneumatic system, that we can have greater control, less operator attention. We won't have to have emergency situations where we're sending folks down there because we have to manually restart and get those systems back up. So we're looking at a better operation system there for that part of it. And that also controls our ability to remotely or on site open and switch between the intakes and the galleries based on water needs. The supply is there. We don't have issues with water or being able to get water. It's just the way that we manage it at this time. So those improvements help us be more reactive and supply our customers with just an unlimited resource.
Thank you, Andy, I've never heard that before, and that's very interesting.
And I will say 15 minutes with Andy at the water plant was very educational.
I would imagine. I mean, we've never heard of this, because it's like, don't worry about it, it's all taken care of.
I would welcome, I went down last week, it's a neat process, and he does a great job of explaining, so.
Oh, yes.
He might pinch me later for welcoming you all to come join him and or me in having a tour of the facility.
So currently too, I am the ORC for the Water Authority, so we are in control of operations down there from Sparta's perspective. So we take charge and set the schedules and take care of all the assets on both sides of the system. So right now, Sparta is kind of in the driver's seat, obviously, as far as operations.
Let me ask you this, talking about the filters, being a big expense this year, is this kind of one-time thing, or you have a decrease maybe next year, or?
There's influencers on how well these perform. We are actually exceeding the standard for the industry right now. Most folks at 10 years are replacing those, so in 2020, those should have been replaced by all rights. I think we have well maintained and done the maintenance cycles. We put contracts in place that allows Araya Filter, which used to be Paul system, Paul Corporation, that was the manufacturer of the skid unit that we use. So we had them come in and help us assess our systems. We pay a yearly contract for that, but it's invaluable, so we have exceeded all expectations of what those filters would be.
But it does seem that there are several items that just have come up on this cycle and have all hit in one year, unfortunately. But to get to your point, sir, I think there could be a reduction next year because there won't be these same items, or we certainly hope not.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't expect that to stay at that level, so however you decide to approach those, and of course, you know,
So-
and
Your key words, you don't expect the rate that we're being charged to stay at what it is this year.
I don't expect the water authority to operate at that number that they presented for this year.
But what we're paying them could go down as, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. So the rate that they're charging us this year, since we've got multiple things that happened at one time, they gotta be taken care of. These filters should have been replaced 4 years ago, and that's good, but you're saying the budget for the water authority is gonna go down, or the cost that we pay to the water authority will go down next year?
Probably
And
not.
can you not answer that?
That'll be up to the boards that control those
So
numbers.
you're saying that the cost should go down next year because we're doing these capital funds, and that's all you need to say?
I'm expressing that O&M goes up, or that the parts and pieces and equipment is a
Right.
driving cost this year.
Right, but their budget will be perhaps less next year because they've already replaced these things, are basically capital assets, for lack of better terms.
I wouldn't expect a decrease.
And I understand what you're saying, but what he's saying is your cost next year won't be as much because you're replacing these things this year. Is that kind
I
of?
expect such.
Expect, well, yeah, you don't know what's gonna break, but.
Correct.
I just want to clarify that, not trying to, you
Sure.
definitely, I learned more today than I've known since 2007.
I'm sorry.
Started to discuss this, but I didn't bother to come see you and go visit, so, but thank you, Andy.
Any other questions?
Appreciate that.
I think we could work, Peggy, Andy and I could work on looking at some different scenarios to perhaps, cut the amount of impact to in-town, customers versus out of town, and we can show you some scenarios,
Right. Yes.
going forward.
That sounds
If
good.
that sounds, I think that's the direction I'm hearing from the board.
Yeah,
That's what I want you to do.
yeah. Are there any more questions about? All right, I think I have two more slides, one on the infrastructure project and one for appropriation. Next one. Okay, the infrastructure project, so that you all know where we at. The Bledsoe Creek is almost completed. That was ARPA money at 1.3 million. We are 254,461 over budget, but we are using the 7 million from the, state to help offset that cost. We have Milcher Mountain Road, which is completed, the transportation, which is the road paving, and the sidewalks, is still in process. Hopefully, they'll get started in the next couple of weeks to complete the paving. The wastewater is, we have voted to start working on the assets of the wastewater. The $15 million, the first, the county has told me they will be sending the first portion of that payment to us so we can get that started. We received $7 million from the state for infrastructure project. We have expensed $3,703,360.99. We still have an additional $3,296,639.01 to go.
Ms. Peggy, if I may, and that's good, and the 7 million came to us in 22, 22?
No, the end of 21, June of 2021.
Okay. And so you're saying we've got 3,296,639.01, But you're also saying that on the Bledsoe Creek project, we got 254,461 that's gotta come out of that.
Yeah.
And then the 78,057 for the Mitchell Mountain has to come from this 3 million.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
and that's good. And I know that at one point, the Bledsoe Creek project was listed, in our initial, just our planning session 2 years ago was 1.7, and then I think at one point, we heard that it was completed at 1.8. So that pretty much corresponds to what you've got there, 1.5, so it was 1.8, which was close to what we, so we take the 296, 639.01, and we take those two amounts out. And that was my question, plus or minus, but obviously it's in red, so that would be a plus.
At the end of the project, once we finish with the wastewater treatment plant, the infrastructure money is all for infrastructure.
Right.
We may have $150,000 to the good,
And
once everything is done. But, you know, stuff is increasing,
Well,
increasing,
yes, you
and
can't-
inflation, so,
And the wastewater plant, where we, down here, this, 156, 327.97, is that or is that not for the repair of the pump stations?
no, we haven't started that.
So
That is
what-
repairing the, sewer plant itself. We had a big component to go out.
Oh, okay, okay,
And so they have been repairing that component.
right. So where we voted to do the,
We haven't
Pump
expensed it, yeah,
stations.
we haven't expensed none of that yet.
okay,
That's
okay.
just up to
So
date.
that's gonna come out of this figure right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Pump stations,
Mhm.
or the pump stations. Okay, thank you.
One of the things that 4 or 5 years ago, when Brian was still here, he presented a list of projects.
Mhm.
One of the things on that list was new meters, so that the garbage people could read those meters as they drove around and not have to send out somebody to do that. It's an upfront expense, but it's a long-term saving. I'd like to see somewhere we start that process. I'm talking about 5%, 10% of those, because they are expensive. Talking about 5 to 10% of those replacements once a year for 10 years. So
Okay, part of the 15 million and the balance of the wastewater treatment money is, we have cost, when Ryan was here, we did a cost. That price has risen to $1.5 million to replace all of the meters. So that will be a project within one of these items.
So you're saying it's gonna get done?
Yes, and we were looking at it to get done within the next year, but they required an engineer study. So all of that was in process, but has been stopped. So now we need to get that going again. We have to get an engineer study and decide how we're going to work that project. So right now, it's just in limbo.
But that is water meters,
Correct.
and that would fall in that 15 million.
It will also fall in this, yes, because it's part of wastewater too.
So would it go back to the 3296, or would it go forward to 15?
Once we get an engineer study to really see what the cost is, it'll be
Right.
both.
Okay, so where does the engineering study money come from?
Money that probably is left over from the infrastructure.
Will it come out of this?
Because we have to
I
start that
just wanted to
project.
ask that question.
Well, no, we discussed that.
And what what the plan is to get them all done. We did talk with Ryan when we were thinking about it. It would take up to 6 months to get it completely done.
The new meters?
Yes.
I was thinking
Not
10
many.
years.
Yeah, but just to get it all in, it would take approximately 6 months to get the company in here and to complete it.
Okay, that's good.
So that is a
I
project
think
that's
in the
still,
long run, it'll
right,
save more money than we spend.
right. And it will help know what to really, also, we're gonna have it connected to the office so that if we come in with a report and we have a meter that's leaking, we can turn it off at the office and not have to send the guys out and turn the meter off. So that's something of what we're looking at.
And it would require the garbage service either to ride by, it's just fully automated.
Okay, that's good.
I'm
It would
thinking,
drastically cut down on water loss.
Yes,
I'm thinking projects like that is gonna have to kind of put on the back burner till we get a full-time
Oh, yeah.
manager in here,
I
you know.
don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I'm just glad to hear that it's in the budget somewhere.
yeah, put it in there.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Well, it's not in the budget at this point, but
Right,
it's
it's
been,
not.
it's been actively discussed.
Okay.
I think I have one more for appropriations. Oh, I didn't put it up there. Well, in your packet, we have the appropriations request that you all can look at, which is a decision of council to decide appropriations. If you want me to, I can read it.
It was back there, Peggy, you went by.
Oh, did you go by?
It was right before the water and sewer, the green screen says water and sewer.
Oh, okay. Can we go
It was,
back?
it was hidden down here under the human capital,
Oh, okay. Well, if everybody will look
which it's, I mean, everybody's saying.
at appropriations, the request for this year, and if you all have any questions.
We're basically,
Well, it's here, John.
you know, I saw it, I got it all.
Okay, yeah.
We're basically, what I saw is we are either meeting what we did this year or increasing
Some are increased, some are
with
decreased.
one or two exceptions.
Yeah, most are.
They were talking about a rescue tax. I'm not sure where they're at in that process. Which if they do a rescue tax, I'm thinking we will not do an appropriation. Because it'll be across the board and it would be, part of, the citizens would be, taxed for the rescue squad. I'm not sure,
Right.
of that. My understanding, they are requesting a rescue tax. I mean, a rescue squad tax.
Like a fire tax.
Right.
Like the fire taxes, which means I would
Take ours out altogether.
take the appropriations out. If you look Allegheny Fair, it's requesting a $5,000 increase to the fair.
Do you understand the reason for that? Is there any explanation?
My understanding from previous meetings that we've had.
Or that
you know,
shook
that
those
came
stones in Jerusalem,
Before us.
that rolled away the burial
that,
stone.
They were gonna sort of stand alone, that they were gonna continue to
Well,
ask us.
I think everybody found, excuse me.
Okay, they weren't gonna continue to ask us for funding. It's up to council, what you all want to do.
So they were gonna ask, but then they did ask?
Yeah, you know, one time they were gonna be self-sustaining and they had enough money to, but this year they came back and asked for $10,000 more.
But they didn't give you specific.
No, and the chamber is another, we're paying them $29,000. I know that was a discussion of last year, not to maintain that, but again, it's up to them. Y'all just need to let me know, so when we do the budget ordinance and stuff.
A lot of these things that you just went over are things that make this town a good place to be. It's, you know, it's just enhances the whole experience of living here. So I'd like to see them, I liked what I saw there pretty much.
In the past, at the fairground, have we given money? But they still ask for, then
The fairground?
fairground.
They never asked me.
We don't give money very specifically, that I recall, I mean,
But they asked for it this time.
The fair, not the fairgrounds, the Allegheny Fair.
agricultural.
Yes, not the fairgrounds.
Okay.
The fair.
All right.
So how much did they ask for?
10,000,
10.
and last year we gave them 5. And the year before that, we gave them 5.
Do we know if the county cut that or something? Is that why they asked us for more? I mean, do we have any idea about
I
that?
think the county cut them out last year.
Completely out?
I think, and on the rescue tax, I'm not privy to the inner workings of the county commissioners, or the outer workings of the county commissioner, anything else, but I know that the rescue tax has been discussed, but I don't think it's gonna come to fruition this year.
Is this something we could get these entities to come to the next meeting to present this, to why their increase is?
Yeah, we can request,
Well, and I, yes, excuse me.
if that's the,
I mean, I think it'd be, you know, I'd like to know why they're asking for more money.
And I personally think that this has been very good and well prepared and gives us a lot to think about. I would personally like to have another work session. And
I agree.
at that point, we could have these folks come
Or
and
that,
speak
yeah.
to us. We need to get our proverbial ducks in a row before, we have plenty of time and to work on this budget. So have these folks come and explain their needs, because we're conjecturing here, I don't know. But if anybody else has other questions, I had a couple of thoughts.
Don't you think that'd be good for the organization to at least come clear their taxes?
I'm not ready to vote on the budget.
Oh, no, we're not
No,
voting.
we're not
We're just
voting.
a work session.
I had a couple of thoughts. If that's okay, you,
Yeah, I'm good.
all right. Just a couple of things to think about. We provided $50,000 to the dispatch. Provided to the county because they provided us dispatch. And that was part of our working agreement with them, and we had a good working agreement with them that deteriorated somewhat over the past 3 years. But we paid them that because they provide dispatch, and they, have always done that, and so we always did that. So that went by the wayside. I think it would be a good idea to revisit that, as a means to, foster, and improve relationship with the county, because it is imperative that the town and the county work together, and we need them on things, and they need us on things. So I would like to revisit that. Now, as a way to come up with the 50,000, I think we could look at cutting out the 29 to the chamber and perhaps the 4,000 to the Arts Council, because we have a TDA now, and we have supported the Arts Council for many, many, many years. Before the TDA was established by, general statute from the General Assembly, the TDA budget is by mandate to promote tourism. So that's, the last I heard, and this is probably not totally accurate, I know we could have, Steve Mason come speak with us, he's a chair, had $300,000. So what I'm not saying that the chamber doesn't need funds, and I'm not saying that the Arts Council doesn't need funds. It's not necessarily our responsibility. So we have shouldered that responsibility in the past because there weren't other funds. So if we take those funds and put them towards the 50,000 to the county to get back on that solid, good relationship with them that we had, just a thought. Now, in the budget, in the line item, there is a line item for economic development, 37.5. I have no clue what that's for. When I asked this question last year, I was told, well, that goes to the chamber too, but we've got it in 2 different line items, which technically is padding the budget. So could anybody enlighten me as to what the economic development line item for 37.5 is?
In the past, we have given the Blue Ridge Business Development Center out of the economic development line item,
Okay,
okay? Plus any extra, economic development requests like the, Allegheny Fair and things like that, that was not specifically assigned. When people came before us with a request, that is the line item, which is an extra line item that we would use especially for
okay.
things that went on that was not what you said per se specifically budgeted in the budget.
Okay.
That council would make decisions during the year that they will fund.
So the BDC, we're not giving them any money
No,
anymore?
no.
No money to the BDC? So you're saying that 10,000 from the ag fair would not come from the general?
That's part of will be part of the economic development. I put it in there because it
And
was
that's
an
the-
appropriation.
Right, and I'm
But
not questioning.
I
that.
didn't, we did not, put them as a line item in our budget because I understand that it was going away, so it was a temporary request.
And who, them being who?
The, Allegheny County Fair.
Okay, so you didn't put it in the line item, although it is over here under special appropriations, but you're saying it's actually
Coming
coming
from
from,
the economic development
it's
line
actually
item.
coming from 37.5, and that's, so that money's there,
Right.
and it's not specifically committed to anything.
It's anything that the council decides during the year. Because
Right.
at one time, it was specifically part of the Blue Ridge Development
I
Center's
understand.
request.
Right. And that clears that up completely. And good. Another thing that I would like to consider is to rescind the $5 vehicle tax that we implemented 2 years ago perhaps. We did a vehicle tax back in early nineties to pay for booster compressors, and people absolutely hate loaded and despised it. And it was one of the most unpopular things that ever came along. So this $5 vehicle tax, can you tell me, and I don't wanna put you on the spot, how much revenue does that generate?
Since it goes to the county, they don't break it down. So, they don't break it down to where it says vehicle tax for the town, it's all accumulated together, so
And-
there is no breakdown.
It's all in with
Vehicle tax.
vehicle tax that we get back.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. When this was initiated, the figure was, if I remember correctly, around $5,000, which is chump change, basically. Okay. It was unpopular, and the theory at the time was, these people that don't pay property tax ought to be paying something, because they're a drag on the economy or whatever. If our sales tax is projected to increase by 2%, which is a conservative projection, and I think it should, hopefully it'll be more.
It's hopefully.
Okay, if that's the case, and that 2% produces $15,000, then that's gonna more than cover the $5 vehicle tax. The sales tax is spread evenly across everybody pays it. So the people that don't pay property tax are gonna be paying this. So I would like for us to consider rescinding that $5 vehicle tax, because I have had more complaints, and it is grossly unpopular, and a little bit just, I don't wanna use the term, so I won't use it, but just not,
With that, I'm not just.
no, you input.
We have not increased taxes here because that has helped.
I understand
And
that.
so if we're gonna do that, you might wanna consider a tax increase. And what all of this has done for the general fund is keeping us at the tax level that
Right.
we are for our citizens, so that we don't increase it. Now, we're talking about the $50,000 for dispatch. I would the chief would speak to that, because he's the one who went down and talked to them
Okay.
about that when it went away. So chief, could you speak to that?
After researching, when I came here a couple years ago, talked with other departments, other towns, just to see, especially since it was moved from the sheriff's office to a standalone entity with the county. Talked with the county manager, the town manager, and I spoke with them, and, no other towns, though, seem to be doing that when it was a standalone dispatch. Now, bigger towns has their own dispatch, they pay for it that way. So anyway, speaking with them, I think that it was my understanding, and I could be wrong, that we did that some years back when they added a second dispatcher for the sheriff's office, is the way that I understood, it was told to me. And that was just to help them until they could absorb that. Now, some of you may know more about that than me, but that's the way I took it. It's a county services provided to everybody.
Right, taxpayers pay.
County, my tax dollars in town, my tax dollars goes, the county pays for that as a county service. I kinda looked at it like this, and this is just my opinion, so it's what it is, but, is that like a double taxation kind of thing? I was looking at it from the town's point of view of, should we pay it or should we not, but they agreed to not, and, that's basically where it came from.
And Chief, I appreciate it, and that's all certainly valid points, or valid points. Now, the other question that is related to that, the county is paying us on the streetscape, they agreed to pay, a portion of that back to 2020. And my recollection was it was 32,000, 28,000. I didn't see anything in the budget about that. Has the county, and I overlooked it, I didn't see anything in revenue where the county is helping us pay for streetscape. So is that an ongoing
They,
situation?
for the next 10 years,
Right,
the county pays, in agreement with the USDA, $23,334. That was their agreement with us through the USDA to support the streetscape that we were doing. It's not for long term. They have paid it for the last 4 years, they have 6 years, and then they will pay us nothing.
right. So it is 23,334.
Right, and it's in your water revenue.
Yeah, okay, well, I didn't look there, but I knew it was somewhere, but I wasn't sure what the figure was. So that figure is constant, or does it go down, does it go up?
Now, the agreement is for the next 10 years.
So it's constant.
It's constant until 10 years is up, and then they pay us nothing, but the loan is for 40 years.
I understand fully well, very explicitly well how long the loan's for. And I didn't know where that was. So they're paying, they made that agreement, you know, to help us. And,
And we've also agreed to help them with meters and stuff that we didn't charge them for.
okay,
So that, I think we put meters at the fairgrounds or somewhere, they were not charged by the town because they requested not to be charged.
any place new?
Over at that courthouse, or it used to be the,
Annex,
used to be the community building.
the annex, okay.
We
And
did
that's all
that.
good, and that's good, that's what we all do, we all try to help them out, you know? They're paying for the water, so we're gonna get the money back. So there's, the meter was put in out there at the fairgrounds recently, was it not?
No, it's been what, you remember? I know we did something, I think when Brian was here.
Okay, so, and it didn't work, it did work, or we don't wanna even go into that whole rabbit hole, but
Replacement.
In that doghouse probably.
was it replaced maybe last year,
We did one 2 years ago?
2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so that was thoughts on that. Again, this is work session. This is something, it's my, a thought. We can discuss it at the next section. The other thing I would like to look at, is a fee schedule. We passed an ordinance, chapter 94 of our town ordinances back in, May of 2021. It's called the Special Events Ordinance. Under that ordinance, section 94.04 is cost incurred by the town. I think we should look at a fee schedule for all special events to cover our costs, because it's not like we're not contributing to these special events. We have, as Miss Peggy just mentioned, we have a 40-year loan, and we're paying, our streetscape payment is, and I wrote that down, 80.
It's 94,000.
It says, it was 87 and when I found it on our thing.
It's 94,000.
Okay, I'm wrong, we're paying 94,000 a year for the streetscape for 40 years. So we are basically providing the infrastructure, a wonderful, modern, attractive, well-maintained place for everybody to have any type of event that they want. And the taxpayers are tied into this 94,000 for the next 40 years. So, as per our ordinance that we passed in May of 2021, we need to have a fee schedule that everybody pays the same thing. I don't care what organization it is, anybody wants to come and use this wonderful downtown facility, that's great. But the time that our maintenance people, our police spend there, and any other costs that may be incurred, we don't know what that cost is. I've talked to Chief, I've talked to Chief Lane, we get different, different estimations, but it needs to be something to look at, because we passed the ordinance, and part of that ordinance was to allow these things and to regulate them and to expand what was allowed, but also to cover the town's costs. And if we have a wonderful scale on written out all the town facilities at the park, and all that's equitable, I think it's fair, it's nice, it's good. do we have a fee for renting this room?
We only have the Marines who use this room,
Okay.
the grandparents, for the school system.
Okay.
They use it 6 months out of the year. And, sometimes we do have the Democratic Party who request to use the room, so we
Right.
don't have a lot of people who request to use this room.
Now, when these folks, and I'm not nitpicking, but I have a lot of
Yes, you are.
extreme qualities, but, the taxpayers pay their taxes and they provide a lot of things, so we're not a charity organization, so are these folks using this facility while y'all are here?
The grandparents do.
And that's not a problem. If the building's already open, let everybody come in here and use it anytime they want, don't have a problem. Is there anybody that actually causes us to have the added expense for somebody to be here, to open, to close, to have lights, to have, is anybody?
The Marine Corps does after hours,
But
as
is
well
it-
as the Democratic Party does.
But is
after
it,
hours.
does someone have to stay here to close up the building? Is there any expense?
Other than the
all-
lights and stuff, nobody's here to let them in or out.
Well, and so if there's no expense, then fine. You know, I didn't know that. I was asked that. I don't know. So if there's no expense, then it's not an issue.
I would say it's a nominal amount.
Right, so I can go back to the people that ask questions. And that's all that I have, but I do think that we need to set up another, session and certainly hear from these people, hear their needs, and go from there. But that's my opinion. Certainly somebody else talk. I'm through.
When would we know about the rescue tax?
And not,
I don't know that it's even in the budget this year.
The only reason I ask is, I'm assuming if they get that, that will go away.
Right.
We
Like-
require.
yeah, I can email April and see if they're putting it in the budget.
Yeah, because I know it's discussed, but. So do we need to set the date for the next meeting? Does anybody else have a question?
Of the things that you listed, there are several things I'd like to see discussed.
Today or at the next meeting?
The next meeting.
Right. And that's why I just threw this stuff out. It's just thoughts, comments people made to make. That's the point of these work sessions, is to discuss it. My opinion is not premium, my opinion is not the best or the worst.
I would request that any questions or any issues that you all would like discussed at the next meeting, shoot me an email or Peggy, make sure we get everyone's
Yeah.
issues
Do
addressed.
you want me to
timely.
email these to you? Would that be
Yeah.
helpful?
That would be, yes
Okay.
ma'am, that would be.
The 30th, can you be available on the 30th, which is next Tuesday? Or do you think we need more time, Scott, because the sooner y'all can get it to us, the sooner we can have another meeting? Or do you wanna go?
30th is good for me.
We
The
may
next
not be
work
able to have
session.
everything,
Work
but I
session.
think we could do a long wait
Yeah.
between now and then.
Right.
Yeah.
Will
We can
you
do it on-
contact the people that are asking for the appropriations in a timely manner so they can address you guys?
Yes,
We can start reaching out to them.
we can reach out to them today, I have the information. On the 30th at, what, 10 o'clock, is that good for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. It will be on the website too, because we have to make this public.
Yeah, it's a public meeting.
Okay. Are we through with the budget session?
Motion to
Okay,
Well,
one thing.
I gotta do a consideration of the attorney's contract. I think we all met with her a week or so ago. I lose track of time. Bring up a discussion about that.
We talked about a contract, $200 an hour.
Yeah, $1,000, yes, $1,000 a month. and for 5 hours, and anything over that is $200 an hour.
Okay. So they go contract with that.
Everything in there.
The contract's in your book, I'll send you the contract.
I'll make that motion, if anybody.
This-
Actually, push the mallet, you will pay the mallet.
This, this, attorney there that the town's gonna hire is Miss Mary Ellen Lyle Moore. She, lives in Laurel Springs, she lives on the Ashe County, Laurel Springs. She's a native Allegheny lady, went to Piney Creek School. We all seem to think that she would do a good job for the town, so I have a motion there to
To approve the contract.
approve the contract.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? That's 5-0. She's hard.
Yeah, she should.
If you hire now, can she be here next time?
I will, she will be at the first meeting, but I can see if she'll be at the first meeting.
All right, I have a motion for adjournment.
I'll second.
Second, and discussion in favor, 5-0. Good. Okay. Double it.